Kakadosh Boker Or, Masechet Bava Metzia Daf Samech Daled Amud Aleph. Today's shiur is Lilu Nishmat Mesod Hashem Ben Lydia Chaya Rachel Zichronah Livracha, and also Michal Phoebe Bat Simcha Zichronah Livracha. Shem Nishmatam Tzor B'Tzochim Amen. We're going to start with Amar Le Rav Acha Bered Rav Al Ravashi. So it's the first line on the page. Okay, so Rav Acha, the son of Rava, comes and he asks. So this is Rav Acha, the son of Rava. He comes and he asks Ravashi, V'i ini shtakifahu delo yahi matana mai. What happens right now if it's a person which is a very hard person and he doesn't give
the case, Rabbi, the case for Masechet.
So basically what happens is this person is not a person that he gives any presents. So therefore, how are we going to come and we're going to say that he left by some of the change by himself? This guy is a harder guy. He'll never give you a present. He'll never give you anything extra. So therefore, what in the world are we coming? We're trying to say that Ki'ilu, what was the case where a person can make a mistake? We said you can make a mistake with a few of the coins, whether it's going to be the 10s or in the 5s or something, but meaning something that's common or something that would be able to make such a mistake. He says, but this guy is such a hard guy. You know, there's a lot of people like that. They come tzanim or things like that. That they won't nada. They will not have nothing. So in such a case, you already know that he's not giving you a present. You already know that it's already revit. And you know what's going on then. So what's going to happen? So he says, Elmaleh, so Ravashi comes and he tells Ravacha, the son of Rava, even though this Malve never gives presents, right? Since, right, we're not going to say that a person makes a mistake and say, Dilma migzal gazle va'avle levecheshbon. The guy could say, you know what? Maybe he stole from him and he wants to do havla'ah. What does that mean? Sometimes it could be that a guy stole from somebody. Now, he feels bad coming and saying, by the way, I stole from you. Here's your $10 that I stole from you. So what does he do? He comes, he takes a loan. And then when he gives him back the loan, he slips the extra $10 bill over there. And now I paid him back. And he feels good about himself. Why? He paid him back. But now he's not going to, he's going to start saying, by the way, I stole it. So maybe that's what he did. The Tanya, as we learned in a Braita, if somebody's going to steal from his friend and he's going to be mavliya in the cheshbon, right? What does that mean? He puts it into the cheshbon. What happens? Yasa. He's going to be yotze yeveh chova. Okay? So now what happens is as follows, right? Vi inish. Now, 1 second. What happens now if this guy is a person that comes from the world and it doesn't make sense that somebody stole from him? Meaning, one more time, what are we trying to do? We're trying to say, why is it that a person could actually come and slip in an extra bill and it's not going to be considered a beat? So he said, maybe Be'emet, the guy he was stole from him and he wanted to return it. He felt embarrassed saying, listen, I stole from you. So he borrows from him the $10 or whatever it is, and he slips him $100, and he slips him an extra 10, and it was purposely done in order not to be embarrassed. What happens if this guy came from nowhere? What are the chances that he came and he stole from him? The chances are very, very slim. It's not mistaber that he came and he actually stole it. So therefore, how are we going to come now and we're going to say that he's keeping the money by him? So Elmaleh, he answers, says maybe Be'emet, it was somebody else that stole from him. And what happens is that the person came and told the Malve, listen, when you're going to pay it back, slip this in with it. Meaning you're right, for him, it wasn't him that stole. It was somebody else. But he told him, slip this in the bill when you're going to go and you're going to, you're going to pay. So Amar Rav Kahana comes and he says, Hava yativna b'shilhi pirkei derav. Right? Once I was sitting right in the drasha of Rab, right? Because basically I came towards the end and I didn't hear the beginning of the shiur, right? Ushmait de Ka'amar, and I heard that he said, Kare, Kare. I didn't understand. He was talking about Druim. Druim are like pumpkins. I didn't understand what he's talking about, So Batar de Kam Rav, after Rav got up from his drasha, Amri Lehu, the student said, My Kare, Kare de Kam Rav. What are the Druim? Amruli, they told me, Hachi Kamar Rav. This is what Rav says. Haiman diayv zuze legina akare. Somebody that's giving money to a ganan, that means basically to a gardener, right? For the pumpkins which are growing, right, in his garden. So the price in the marketplace was 10 small pumpkins, right? Which the length of them is a zeret, which is like a pinky. So we're talking about something very, very small, right? Sorry, here the zeret is half of an amah, so it's actually big. Yeah, with one zuz. Okay, so you had 10 for one zuz. Now what happened? He went and he told me, and he told him, Yahiv nalach b'nei garmida. If you want to wait until they grow, I'm going to give you even longer ones, right? For the mechid of 10 zuz. Itniu share, letniu asur. You remember we kept on saying that if they actually have it, meaning if you have the same currency, so it's going to be permitted. There's not going to be a problem of rebit. But if you do not have the same currency, it is going to be a problem of rebit, because if not, then you could go back home and go pick it up, right? So yeshlo means that he does have. So if he does have, it's going to be permitted. And if he does not have, it's going to be prohibited. So says the Gemara, so pshita. So obviously, we learned this 100 times already. If you have it, there's no problem with rebit. If you don't have it, it's a problem with rebit. That's what we said. Whenever you're in Israel and you want to borrow dollars, right, instead of shekels, you have to also have dollars, because if the price of the dollar, the shot of the dollar goes up, so therefore, as long as you also have dollars, so therefore there's not going to be a problem with rebit. If you don't have dollars, so then it's going to be a problem. So you have to make sure that you have, right, a dollar. So says the Gemara, I would have thought to say, Kevan de mimela karavu shapir dami. Since mimela the druim, they grow, right, on their own, and therefore you have small ones. You have so it's keilu that you already have the big ones. Kamash Balan comes teach you, right, that it's not true. That right now you don't have the druim gdolim. So since you don't have the big pumpkins in your garden, it's considered that you don't have it. You have the small and they'll become big. No, but right now you don't have the big ones. So therefore it's considered that you do not have it. So Keman, what does this go like? So he says, Ki hay tana like this tana. The Tanya is we learned to the Braita. Haolech lachlov et izav, veligzoz et rechelav, velirdot et mikvarto, umetzao chavero. So imagine right now, you find somebody that is going to milk his goats, or to be gozez, to shear the wools of his sheep, right? Velirdot, or to take the honey from his kaveret, from the beehives. Umetzao chavero. So he finds a friend. So he tells him. So imagine the guy of the goats comes and he tells the guy of the sheep, or the guy of the beehives, so it means basically he's already selling everything, right? That means he's selling these things, right, for a certain amount of time. So he comes and he gives him the money. So he says it's going to be permitted. Yeah, in such a case, it's going to be permitted. What does that mean? That even though he still doesn't have the chalav, he doesn't have the milk, he doesn't have all these things, it's still going to be permitted, right? That means even though it didn't come to the world, so therefore it's a sur, because this is like etno, right? So now what's going on exactly over here, right? What does that mean? That which my animals are going to milk, right? Or all these things. Well, what's going on? How could this be exactly? So he says, Aval ima marlo mashi kach vekach machulecha. But if he says the exact amount, or mashi lechilek kach vekach, how much of a tzemet, or much of a kach vekach machulecha, there it's going to be a sur. Why? Because since he obligated himself into a certain measurement, therefore there's no risk. Exactly, there's no risk involved, meaning that you're never going to lose anything. Because even if there's going to be only a little bit of milk, right? But it comes out that be'emet, he's giving him it's like interest. Basically, you're paying me up front. That's called a rebit, because you're giving me the money up front. Why are you giving me the money up front? Because I'm giving you so that's called the interest. Because remember, interest is basically any time that you're giving money and that you're giving it in order that you're giving something extra. You're giving something in order that you're giving me a loan. So here it's like a loan, because I'm paying you on credit. When was the last time you paid something? Right? People take things on credit. Since when do you pay beforehand? Do you ever see something? Imagine somebody goes to
Later.
of course, because you're never going to pay them afterwards, right? But other than that, say people don't do that. You go, you understand, right? Or a store, or something, but even stores, usually they do on credit, right? Or even a credit card. What is a credit card? You don't pay up front, right? The ones that pay up front means that you don't have a good credit score. So you have to pay up front, because it's like a debit card, because if not, nobody will give you a credit. But if not, it doesn't exist. You're going to pay up front. What are you doing? It means that you're doing something. right? So here he says, "Ve'af al gav the mila karavu." Now, even though the chalav, the semen, the divash, they grow on their own, kevan delitzniu b'aishata, since you don't have anything, it's still going to be asur. So therefore, this is what we said, that who does this go like? Like this. That means even though you have, right, the small pumpkins, you don't have the big pumpkins. They're going to grow on its own. Doesn't matter. Or the wool, it's going to grow on its own on the sheep. Or the milk, it's going to grow naturally. Doesn't matter. It's like you don't have it. Until here, we're clear?
Well, maybe I jumped ahead.
Ika de Amri. There are those that say, remember right now that we are going to bring, right? Until now, we brought like Rava. And now, right, we're going to bring the words on Rava, which argue on Rav. So Rav said one opinion, and Rava is going to argue. Okay, because remember, Rav Kahana was in the shiur of Rav, right? And this is what Rav spoke about the pumpkins. And therefore, this is a psak of Rav, that basically there's going to be a difference between the big pumpkins and the small pumpkins. And that even though it grows on its own, it's not considered that you have the pumpkins. And now Rava is going to argue. So Ika de Amni Amar Rava says, Kevan de Mimela Karavu Shapir Dami. So the fact that they grow on its own, it's considered that you have it. You don't have big pumpkins, doesn't matter. You have a small one that's going to become big. That's considered that you have it. And therefore, you're allowed to do this, and there's no problem of the rebit. So says the Gemara, 1 second. Vatanya kach lekach dasud. We taught a braita. This was this braita that we just did here about the milking of the goats and the shearing of the wool. And there it's written kach lekach. It's going to be asur. It's a braita. So answers the Gemara, hatam lav minei karav. He says there, it's not growing the same thing exactly. The shakli lelehai ve'ata charina beduchte. When you come and you take the milk, is the milk now growing? It's not growing. You took the milk, and now it's new milk which is producing, right? We're taking milk of a how do you call this? Milk of a, let's say, of a goat. When you took the milk, it's not that same milk now is coming and growing to become bigger. You took one milk, and now a new milk is forming. You sheared the wool, and now new wool is forming. It's not that the wool is becoming bigger, right?
Of course, it is the wool is growing bigger. Sheep has.
But here by the pumpkins, it's growing. If you're going to take a small pumpkin, a big pumpkin is going to come? Obviously not. Meaning that we're talking about for the beginning, the exact same halacha. That's why Rava is arguing, right? And he's saying not like Rav. Okay? Fine. Now the Gemara says, Amar Abaye. Abaye says, yeah, Shari lele inish. Shari lele inish lemeima lele chabre. It's going to be permitted for a person to tell his friend, yeah, hela charba zuze achavita de chamra. Take this 4 zuz for this barrel of wine that you have, right? The takva bishutech. Now, on condition that if it's going to become chometz, vinegar, in your possession before you give it to me, so it belongs to you, meaning you lose the money. But if it goes up and down, it's mine. Which means like this. Right now, David has a barrel of wine. I come and I say, listen, I'm giving you, here's $100. You're going to give me the barrel. I'm not taking it down now. I'm going to take it another, I've got guests coming over, whatever it is. I'll take it another week. But on one condition. If it becomes vinegar, it's your loss. But if it goes up and down in value, it's mine. So that means even if it went down, I take the loss. But the vinegar, that's your loss. You're allowed to do it. Okay? So says the Gemara, right? 1 second. Elmaleh Rav Shravya Abaye, says Rav Shravya to Abaye, Samachdala de Mubet, 64b. Hi, Karov L'Schav Rachok Levsedu. Says 1 second. This is too much. Whenever you're doing, for example, even a heteriska, by the way, a heteriska, there has to be a type of a loss involved, meaning that you could take a loss, a risk. Thank you, that's a better word. There could be a risk. Here, what risk is there? You're Karov L'Schav Rachok Levsed. You're almost always gaining. You're very far away from losing any money. So therefore, what's going on in there? Because we already mentioned, and we're going to mention it later on, that anything which is karov l'schav v'rachok levsed, it's going to be a sur, because then you're not taking any type of risk. You have to take a type of a form of risk. Elmaleh says, given the mekabel lezola, the fact that you did take that if it goes down in value, karov lezev lezev. So it's the same thing, meaning that going up in value and down in value, that already is the risk because the price could go down. So therefore, the fact that he accepted upon himself that if the price goes down, so therefore there does exist such a concept of the hefsed as well. Mishnah. Samigdal Amubet 64b. Hamalvet chavero lo yadur b'chatzero bechinam velo yiskor mimenu bepachot mipnei rebit. Imagine right now I lend you money, and all of a sudden, you know what? Can I stay by your house? Yeah, for free. That's rebit. That's called interest. Why? Because I lent you the money. You're not paying me more, but you're lending me your house for free. That's called rebit. That's called the interest. Right? The same halacha would apply if you're going to charge me less, right, than the normal rent. That's also called rebit. So in those two cases, it's also going to be rebit. Okay, says the Gemara. Yeah, Amar Rav Yosef bar Menyume bar Nachman. Even though we just said imagine right now I went to Mordechai's house when he wasn't here. He was in Orlando. And I put up my entire family there. So what? He's not losing anything. We should benefit. We should benefit. So you don't have to give him any money. Yeah? You have to pay? You don't have to pay. Nada. Yeah, for free. Yeah, it's part of the membership. Yeah? So he says over here, Halvehu v'dar v'chatzero tzarich lehalot lo schar. But, right, he says, if right now, right, he says, Halvehu v'dar v'chatzero, if he lent him money, now he does have to give him money. Meaning, before the loan, he could have gone to his house and nothing would have happened. He doesn't have to pay him. Now, after the loan, he has to pay him. Yeah? Tzarich lehalot lo schar. My Kamashmalan comes the man asks, what are you coming to teach us? We already learned it. It's a Mishnah. Well, what's a chidush? Obviously. So says the Gemara, if it would be from the Mishnah, I would have thought to say we're talking about, right, the entire concept. One of these words, we're talking about a chatzer, which is basically made for rent, and people that are renting. Okay, meaning we're talking about a place which usually they rent, and people are renting. So it comes out that he's benefiting from the money of this chatzer, and the bala chatzer is also lacking money, because if not, he could have rented it for somebody else. Aval chatzer de lo kaima. But if we're talking about a chatzer de lo kaima, right, lagra, the gavra de lo avilemega, and a person which they do not, right? They do not what? A chatzer which is not, and also people that are not renting out. So I'm allowed to say no. Kamashwalan comes teach you that even in that case, it's still going to be a sul. Meaning like this, I would have thought to say, listen, you have your property up for rent, and you're a renter. You go around renting properties. So therefore, in such a case, I would have said, okay, fine, I understand. But in a case where, for example, right now you're not renting it out at all. So therefore, if you're not renting it out and you are not a renter, I would have thought to say, listen, what's the big deal? When comes teach, that at the end of the day, it looks like rebit. And the fact that it looks like rebit, it's still going to be a sur. Okay? But it looks zenidak rebit. It looks like rebit. Okay? Ika damri. We're going to flip now. Remember, Ika damri is a yesh omnim, like another version. Yeah? So the Ika damri says, Amar Rav Yosef bar Menyume. Right? It says Rav Yosef bar Menyume in the name of Rav Nachman. Even though they said even though they said that you don't have to pay him, if you say lend me and you are going to live in my property, that yes, you do have to give him the schar. You cannot live there bechinam. So manda amar hilvau, according to the manda, meaning like this, basically we changed the text. The first text said hilvahu, and now it's saying halveni. So mandamar, according to the mandamar that says hilvahu, which is the first lashon of Nachman, that there was a stam alva, it's going to be a sur. So kol sheken halveni, that it's going to be a sur. But according to the mandamar that says halveni, which is the second version,
addition of the loan, a part of the loan.
Yeah, exactly. So then aval hilvahu, lo, it's not going to be a sur. My time, what's reasoning? At the beginning, you didn't lend him for that. Meaning, when you did the initial loan, there was no rebit. So therefore, now that he's coming, okay, so no problem, right? Why? Because it wasn't part of the loan agreement. Meaning, I lent you the money. That's it. Now all of a sudden you want to come. Okay, fine. So bechavod. Why not? Right? Just like anybody else. They're not paying me, so no problem. Rav Yosef Bar Chama, Takif Avdi Diinche Demasik Biuzuze, was mazik in the avadim, in the slaves of the people that they owed the money. Rabbi he was making them do avodah. So Amaleh Rava Brei, so Rava, his son comes and he tells him, why are you doing that? Why is like basically the Rav doing that? It's rebit. Why? Because, for example, you have a slave. I lent you money. You have to pay me back. Until you don't pay me back, I take your slave. And now he's working for me. So now you pay me back, I'll give you back your slave. But in between, he was working for me. That's rebit.
They're going to bring them, let him do nothing.
Very good. Richard, you're always ahead of the game. Don't always
Just
cheat.
remember that.
Okay. Kol hakavod, Richard. If you remember it from before, I'm not going to say it. Yeah. So he says, right? So Amaleh, why are you doing that? Amaleh ana Rav Nachman sir le'ahold Rav Nachman damar Rav Nachman avda nehum kriselo shaveh. An eved, even the bread that he eats is not shaveh, the melacha that he's doing, and therefore I'm coming and I'm giving them to eat. So it comes out that I'm not even gaining anything. So because I'm not gaining, there's no ribit here. Meaning, basically, I'm doing the guy a favor because I'm paying them for the food, and the work that they do is not even worth the value of the food that they eat. Yeah. So Amalei comes and he says, so maybe that what Rav Nachman was talking about Dare of his Eved. That was the name of his Eved, was called Dari, right? That his minhag was he used to come and he used to start dancing around, right? And he used to get like wine or whatever it is. So he never worked. So that's why his food was more expensive than his work. But whoever said that by every single slave? Meaning, usually a slave will, you know what it is that he's, how much is he eating? That it's even more than the value of his work. So Amaleh, he says, Ana kihad Rav Daniel bar Rav Katina Rav Svirali te amar atokev adosh chavro v'sabon lacha patur. You're going to be patur. Why? Samichei Amud on the top. Tanichale de lo nistera avdei. He doesn't want that his eved should be batel the entire time. He doesn't want that his slave is always going to be batel, but if not, it's not going to be good. But then afterwards, you want to lazy, exactly. You want to, afterwards you want to get him to start working. No, this, that, no. It doesn't work. So because of that, that's why he doesn't let it.